everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today's Wildcard Sunday, where we look at things that are a little bit different from our regular videos during the week. So today we're looking at Cable issue number 3, cover dated July 1993. If you know a little history about this series, there was the miniseries first that apparently originally was supposed to have been done by Rob Liefeld, but he moved off to Image. So that was done by John Romita Jr., issues 1 and 2. And then they started the title over with a new issue 1, a regular series, and that one was drawn by Art Thibert, or Thibert, I think, because it's a French name. That's how we would pronounce it here in Quebec. And he was on the title just for a few issues and then kind of disappeared. I know at some point he moved on to Image Comics, so maybe that's what he did. But he comes back for a few issues of Cable later on, I believe. Anyways, the reason or the interest in looking at this issue here is it kind of shows you where Marvel is at, right? At the peak of kind of the Image explosion, right? Image is just kicking all sorts of ass. The original 7 founders have done their comics, and now they're hiring more guys away from Marvel. So Marvel's really kind of struggling, and I feel like, you know, issue 1 and 2 by Art Thibert, issue 3 here, you'll see in the credits by just a handful of dudes, and all there for kind of different and interesting reasons, which I'll talk about when we get to the credit page. As for the cover, it is Art Thibert doing this one, kind of, again, doing that Jim Lee pastiche, right? Definitely very Jim Lee inspired art here. He did ink Jim Lee for a while, and I think I don't know if he was maybe in competition. I don't know if I'd say that, but definitely for a while there, Scott Williams was inking Jim Lee, and so was Art Thibert, and it was looking kind of pretty darn similar, and both kind of worked, but eventually Jim Lee kind of settled on Scott Williams, and, you know, he's been inking Jim Lee stuff ever since, I'm pretty sure, at least most of it, right? So that's it for the cover. The interesting part of this comic is, again, how Marvel is scrambling with the success of Image. There'll be 2 kind of major examples in this issue, right? The actual artwork and who it's by, and when we get to the middle of the comic, I'll point something out, because you know, when I picked this up, I was like, man, that feels like a thick comic. Like, it's almost like double-sized in as far as page count. And it isn't. And you'll see why, again, when we get to the middle of the issue. Maybe you already know if you've seen this issue. So here's what's interesting art-wise, okay? And I'll go through it, and we'll go through those pages. So for pages 1 to 4... you've got Ron Lim and company, then Paul Smith and Tom Palmer, and then just this whole list, which I will go through. But just to point out that, again, just to even get this issue to production, they've had to, you know, go to all these artists here, and each of them have done like 3 pages. So this was probably done over almost a weekend or something. You know, someone wrote the plot, and then these guys had to get these 3 pages done, maybe a day or 2 at the most, because, you know, as I go through the list, you'll see how this works. I'll try to give details on what I think, you know, is happening there. So we've got Ron Lim and company at this point, pages 1 to 4. Company is just a bunch of different inkers, I guess. And Ron Lim is, you know, he's been drawing Infinity War, Infinity Gauntlet, all that stuff, Infinity, and Silver Surfer. I don't know, at this time he's still at Marvel, kind of because of the Image exodus. He's getting a lot more work, so I can't conceive of him having that much time to draw these pages and do them well. So he probably just did breakdowns, and these inkers kind of took over. So page 1, 2, 3, you know, and 4, if you look at that, it's almost like, you know, Ron Lim was inked by Bill Sienkiewicz or something, or at least a very rough bunch of inkers. The only kind of recognizable Ron Lim stuff to me is kind of the facial structures here of Cable and this guy in the background. Was it Garrison Kane, Weapon X? Is that his name? And not much else. Like, you would tell me this is Ron Lim, I just wouldn't believe you, right? And again, just statting that panel 6 times, that takes balls. No change of expression. Yeah, I barely recognize any kind of Ron Lim there. Maybe his kind of layouts with these angles here, them drinking beer, but that's it. So Ron Lim, you know, like I said, how does he kind of you know, profit from the Image exodus? Well, more work for him, and, you know, for Marvel for a long time. And I don't think he does any kind of creator-owned series. Might have done one for this like obscure heavy hitters line, which I think was still Marvel. Some kind of monkey man looking dude. It's a very obscure image. I remember the drawing. So anyone has more details on that, let me know. I think it came out. So this is also written by Fabian Nicieza, or Nicieza is the writer. So I guess some kind of continuity of ideas between, you know, X-Force and this Cable series. I guess it was passed off onto him once Rob Liefeld, you know, moved on to Image. So next few pages, Paul Smith inked by Tom Palmer, 5 Page 5, 6, and 7. So just one kind of sequence. I guess they're all getting one sequence, and each sequence is 3 pages. That would make sense. Let me see if that's true all the way through. So Paul Smith here, skiing down the slopes, kind of a James Bond kind of thing. I mean, Paul Smith, a great artist, but definitely not an image style artist, right? But I do feel like even in the inking here, Tom Palmer's trying to give us a bit of an image feel to it, right? So their connection there is, you know, Paul Smith hasn't done a lot of work in and around that time and steady work. So I guess this is the kind of stuff he does. A few pages here, a few pages there. Not quite sure how his career was going at that point before we leave it to chance. And yeah, just a quick buck, I guess, for him. Next, we've got Klaus Janson, who once again, I think is a solid artist, but not anyone I would associate with any kind of image style. So it's kind of weird, again, the clash of styles in this issue, you know, kind of Marvel, he would, again, be just kind of a Marvel, you know, jobber at this point, who's taking a job of 3 pages. 1, 2, and 3. I mean, pretty good as far as Klaus Janson pages go. He's a very solid artist, and I feel like he probably did these pages really fast, and there's an energy to them that I really like. I'll point out that this character here looks pretty much the same like as the character I'm looking at in the Jay Lee reviews of Spider-Man, and that both of those characters also look like a character from Image Comics. I forget the name of the comic, but it was a backup in some of the Extreme issues early on. It was a girl with superpowers, a lady with superpowers, and she fought a guy who looked exactly like this. I think he just had hair coming out of the top of his head, right? Very 90s design. So yeah, you know anything about that, let me know in the comments as well. So again, just a guy doing a job. Then we've got Brandon Peterson, and I think that's Henry Candelario, doing pages 11 to 13. And then all of a sudden we're back with kind of that Jim Lee, you know, Image Hatch style. And I do know that, I know for sure that Brandon Peterson goes on to work for Image, for Mark Silvestri for a while. And I don't know so much about Henry Candelario, but I know Peterson for sure, right? So there's the Image connection there. Here's an artist who's working at Marvel. Marvel can't hang on to, and Image offers a job on the secondary titles. I think he went on to draw Strike Force, if I'm not mistaken. At least the first thing he did for Top Cow for Mark Silvestri. So this page, and one more, which I'm going to get to, right? Let's just remember that. Brandon Peterson has one more page left to go that we can look at. And this is the reason that this issue feels like a double-sized issue. You've got about 20, I'm going to count them, but there's like, I'm guessing there's about 20 pages of ads here about Marvel Comics and what they're doing at this point. And I think this is kind of like they're really trying to compete with Image now, so they're making sure that they're really advertising their books in a much more Image style, colors, you know, flash, lots of big pinups you'll see, but just ridiculous in the middle of a comic to have this interrupt your, you know, one or two flips of ads is one thing, but this is just really insane. They think like just bombarding you with this marketing is going to make you buy more comics. 1, 3, great Tixera there. Joe Mad on Deadpool. I should have picked that up back in the day, just monetary wise. So 3, 5, 7, 9. There we go. Jeez. 11, 13, 15. Well, we'll go with 14. And this is the Hunt for Magneto, so still officially Marvel ads. So 15 pages. Oh, there's another ad, not Marvel. So 16 pages in a row are basically just advertisements. So yeah, that really kills the flow of a story. But I guess they didn't really care about flow of the story in this issue, as it's drawn by like 27 guys. So there's another Brandon Peterson page, right? The last one, again, very kind of Jim Lee style. You know, it's like this issue is filled with, you know, Marvel artists who they think fit the bill as kind of Image style guys, and then just the extra slots were filled in by, you know, more old school jobbers. So boom, this would be one of those guys. No offense to their art style or anything. You know, Klaus Janson, Kerry Gamil is this artist, and Al Milgram inking, 14 to 16. I think they're both very competent artists. They're just not the kind of Image style artists that we're looking for back in the early 90s, right? So yeah, Kerry Gamil, he drew Superman for a while. 1, 2, 3 pages by him. So yeah, literally every sequence is 3 pages, just I guess to make this easy on everyone. And this is a sequence I really liked looking at. Ian Churchill and Bob Wyachek did 17 and 18. Ian Churchill and Al Milgrom, page 19. So difference in inkers, but these are the most fun pages in here. The most kind of bouncy and cartoony. And that I just enjoy the most, I would say, artistically. There's just something about it that's more dynamic and, again, cartoony. More in tune with the image style for sure, I would say. Oh, great. How does a, ad for Batman Returns, in this case, video game, movie, etc., a DC property, end up in a Marvel comic, right? That's so odd. I get the whole licensing thing, right? It's the video game company paying for the ad, but still, you would think Marvel would want to avoid that. So yeah, more pages by this guy, and no big surprise with this guy as well. Forget his name already. Ian Churchill, that's right. Won't stay at Marvel very long. He'll do a bit of stuff on X-Force, I think, after Greg Capullo or something, and then eventually we'll move over to Image as well. Obviously the guys in this comic with the styles that are most suited to Image will eventually move to Image. That's one of the reasons I think this issue is very interesting. And then the last one, Paul Ryan and Al Milgrom, pages 20 to 22. Once again, back to a more traditional, kind of old school Marvel type storytelling, right? Good backgrounds, almost believable proportions. Good stuff, though. Solid, and again, a 3-page sequence. All right, so those are my thoughts, guys, on Cable issue 3 of the regular series. If you're watching and you're subscribed, thank you so much for being there. Really do appreciate it. If you are watching but are not subscribed, please do so below. It only takes a quick second for you. Really helps out the channel, helps us grow, and it helps get us out there to other people who are into comic books just like we are. We're trying to hit 500 subs as soon as possible. That's when YouTube officially recognizes us as a channel and starts helping out a little bit, helping to get us out there to other people who are into comic books just like we are. Everyone out there, thanks again, and have an awesome day.
Like! Subscribe! Like! Subscribe!
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13. 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KINGCOMICS.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.